All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you, Frank. Good to
Gentlemen,
see you, Johnny.
You too. How you doing?
I am doing outstanding, but I hope to get better later.
You get to go out today?
No, I did not. I got in at 6:30 this morning from work, and I got after I walked the dog, I got so busy that I ended up doing laundry and doing all this other stuff. And by then, I was like, I got to get some sleep. So I slept for about 4 hours, and then I got up. I ran some errands. So tomorrow for sure, I'm getting out there.
How
So
about you, Johnny? How you been?
good man. Just did a softball tournament with my daughter. So right now I'm good. Tomorrow morning, however, I might be calling 911. We'll find out.
Oh,
See how that
yeah,
goes.
good. That's
well,
good.
I want to be the first to say it. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
No, thank you.
You
Thanks,
know,
sir. Thank you. Thank you.
and this is an important one for you because this is the first one with your daughter, Johnny.
Yeah, I know, man. It's is it Father's Day today
Well,
or is it
tomorrow,
tomorrow?
but I won't see you
Okay.
or talk to you guys tomorrow. So,
Right.
What is
Yeah, yeah.
how how old's your new one?
She will be one the 25th of August. So she's a little one. I got way too
Good.
much gray hair for one that small, but happy wife, happy life, right?
that's how it usually works.
Well, I got five
Yeah.
dogs.
You got
You
what?
said five dogs.
I got 5 dogs now.
And speaking of that, I have a new addition to my household.
Oh, look at there.
A couple weeks ago, I went to the rescue and I rescued this little fella. His name is Rascal. So he's my
That's
new companion.
that's cool. Yeah, the my wife. There was one. We had four, and then what was it? I think I was either just going to Ocala or fixing to go to Ocala, and she sends me a video of this little weenie dog that I'm assuming it was somebody's pet, but it was all messed up and just hanging around, all matted up. And she took it and gave it a bath, and we started taking care of it. And then we went to the pound to see if it had a chip in it, and it did, but we couldn't find the. Anytime you called the number, it would just go, like it was out of service. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I made sure he's chipped, he's fixed, he's everything. So he's a
Yeah.
really good dog. He's been perfect, except for he's got one issue. He doesn't like big dogs, and my dog evidently wants to write a check he can't cash. So I've got to
Yeah,
keep him.
that's how the little ones normally are.
He's usually calm, cool, and collective until he sees a big dog, and I'm talking dogs that will make no issue with this one at all, and he wants them bad. So
I don't think I ever put in perspective because I've always had big dogs growing up, and we've always had big dogs. So uh, the last baby chat she started, we got a Cavapoo. uh,
I don't even know what that is.
it's I don't some a mix between like a Cavalier and a Cocker Spaniel or something like that. They look like a miniature golden doodle, and but he's real cool. But he's supposed to get like 15 pounds, and he looks massive next to the weenie dog. And but then my other three dogs, they're all 130 to 150 pounds. So it's like,
Well, I've always had big dogs, and Bruno was a 180-pound mastiff, and I loved him. He was a gentle giant. I've had curs and pit bulls throughout my history, but this is the first time I got a small dog, and I wanted to try a small dog. So I went down there and I was going through all the cages and looking at all the at the shelter and looking at all the dogs. Every single little dog there wanted to bite me, except for this one. So I said, "You're it, buddy." But he's a what do they call it? I think a Yorktown
he does.
Terrier. Just
Yeah,
one of
he
those
was.
wired hair terriers.
Yeah, I was gonna say he looked like he had a little Yorkie in him.
Yeah,
They're
he's
fun,
he's he's
man.
he's the size of a wiener dog.
Yeah,
You know, he's only about 12 pounds. So
yeah. I don't know this one. I've never liked weenie dogs. Uh, I think it was because her dad had them and he just never took care of them, so they always just look like big bald possums, you know. And
yeah,
they was just wild looking, so I just never got into them. I had one growing up, and she was really smart, and but she was I don't know if she was like a full grown one or what, but she was a lot bigger than the ones that he had. And this one, she's pretty long, but they got a different. I don't know. I guess like where we've always had our dogs from the times they were real little pups. They just grow up in our environment, so they adapt to us. And then with her, where she didn't, she's a little out of line, but like she's a sweetheart. Like, uh, but growing up, we raised boxers and stuff like that,
yeah.
and then the holler that I grew up in, everybody always knew we had a bunch of dogs. So anytime somebody want to get rid of them, they just go and drop them off in front of our house or somewhere near there, and we'd end up with them.
Yeah. So a lot going on in the world today, in our worlds, Bigfoot worlds and stuff like that, we had the conference last weekend, the Bigfoot conference,
Hmm.
and it was a lot of fun. It was good. I don't know what the final total numbers were as far as attendance.
I heard,
Usually what's that?
I thought I heard around 4, but I don't know if it was that many.
Yeah, it didn't feel like 4,000. Every
Yeah,
year there's around 2,000, 2,500, or something like that, pretty
right.
good crowd. And it seemed like there was a good crowd. I just don't know what the final numbers are and stuff like that. So, but a good time. I did put out a video if anybody wants to go to um, Bigfoot Florida Guy, my research channel. I did do like a 20-minute video on the conference. So if you guys want to go there, a lot of pictures and a
Yeah,
walkthrough and stuff like that. So if anybody wants to look at that, and I got
I
to
give
meet
you
a
credit.
good
I
huh.
said I give you credit because like I mean like you worked the room really really good, making your way through people and stuff. Like the whole time you was there, you was.
Yeah, I was tired. I was
Oh, I
tired.
bet.
I did a lot of walking, and then I would always find your table and sit in the background and just I brought my own little tiny chair that I can sit down and rest my feet and stuff like that. But I did learn a major lesson is I am not getting I usually leave the place, go eat lunch and come back, which I will go back to because that's the biggest downfall of the place is when you pay $15 for a hamburger. Yeah, the total bill was $20 for a hamburger and a bottled water, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's not a 5-star burger, so I'm not going to do that. But everything else was great.
Yeah.
Little things that were different this year. They never ran the jumbotron in the ceiling. They
I
never
thought that.
turned it on, so you had to go to the other side to see who was on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
the last few years that I've been to it, they have that in the middle going. So like even if you're back in that area, you can hear what's being said on stage and stuff. And where they have me work in the BFRO booth, I didn't hear nobody. I
yeah,
didn't know what none of them said. Uh, I mean, I've read a lot of them's books anyway, so it's like I kind of know where they're going with it. But uh, yeah, it was different. Like they didn't. It was definitely quieter. Uh, and maybe that's why I just didn't notice as many
it
people.
was quieter.
Yeah, it was
It
definitely
was.
quieter. Yeah,
You know.
I feel like
So
they had random booth people too. Like like I seen people in there selling jewelry and you know, I, to each their own. I just some of the booths that I seen in there, like they were. I don't know. I don't think they had as much as they've had previous.
I made up the comment that I don't know if there wasn't as many vendors or they just spread them out so much further.
Yeah, that could.
Um So I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. But that was
Yeah.
the big thing. It was a last minute for me to go. I was not going to go this year, mostly due to the fact that I wasn't interested in any of the guest speakers. I've seen them all before,
Right.
so I wasn't interested in that. But I needed to meet with you and talk to you, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So I wanted that time for me and you to talk and get and hang out and stuff like that, and so that was important to me. So really, you were the number one reason why I went.
Right.
Um, but I did get to network and talk to some people, so I got some shows lined up with some guests and stuff like that. Um, but what I want to get into, and this is why you two guys are, on the stage tonight, is there's been a changing of the guard, and I wanted Johnny to be the person to officially, say something and welcome you, Frank. So go ahead, Johnny. Tell us what's going on in your world.
Well, first of all, I like the intro. If Funny story about that. I had a lady on one of my videos tell me that she hated my music because it was like hard rock or whatever, and I'm like, ma'am, but I didn't realize that. She just said she hated the music,
Right.
Hmm.
and I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's probably not going to change because I don't put a whole lot of stock in that or whatever. It's just background music. She was like, well, I'm not going to listen to the hard rock. It's terrible. And if you don't change it, then blah, blah, blah. Well, I hadn't used the hard rock stuff in like 6 months. She was watching old videos and I already changed the music. It was
Right.
like people get so caught up in like these little things. And she literally
It,
thought that I was just going to change all my videos to music that was going to make her happy, I guess. But anyway, your intro, if nobody noticed, I'm not in the intro. It's just Richard and it's Frank, and that's because I am retiring from the podcasting game. I've been doing it off and on for several years since I started doing this now, and I just got too much going on. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the people that I've met, but I'm also, and really, the biggest part of that is I'm going to start opening my property up to other people. So I've
That's
had
cool.
activity for a little over a month now, which is a little unusual. I was talking to somebody the other day, and usually the activity went from, if you start at the beginning of the year, like I would have a little bit in like between February and spring, and then a little bit at the beginning of summer, and then starting like the end of August, I get a whole lot of activity all the way through like the first or second week of November. That's like the most, you know, the busiest time is that 3 months. And that's where I get 90% of everything. Well, for the past, they've been here for about a month and I've been getting activity, but it hasn't been up close to the house. It's been either back behind the house or up to a mile away when I went to the management area. And it normally doesn't last that long this time of the year. But I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and I always assumed that like maybe they left and that they, migrated or, not necessarily going north, or
Right.
south for the winter or anything like that, but that they probably had a big circle that they moved in. The fact of the matter is, for all I know, they're here year round and they
Right.
just decide to interact they probably know that the more they interact, the more I'm going to keep looking for them. So if they interact all the time, I'm going to look for them all the time. So anyway, I've never, as long as I've been doing this, I've never had anybody out to my property. And it's, unfortunately, I got burned early on
Hmm.
when I started getting into this and meeting people and, some people that just did some really despicable things. And those individuals, had my address. And it really made me stop and think that, man, I need to slow down on that. And I had people come out to the management area before, that is back behind my house, but never to my house.
Right.
But now it's been, I've got a handful of people now that I've known for 2, 3 years that I trust, you know.
Right.
And it's beyond, it's real easy to get along with people if you're on your best behavior, um, and
Right.
every trip goes good, you know.
Yeah.
But once you start having those little, like maybe little disagreements or arguments or whatever, and then you make it through that, then you know you're friends, you know.
Mm.
And that's
Right.
Yeah.
kind of what I've been waiting on, you know, to see. You know, you got to give people a certain amount of time if you don't see them that often to get to know them. And there's, you
Right.
know, three or four, maybe five people I know now that I trust a lot, and I want to start bringing them out here. And you know, who knows? Maybe one day we'll open it up. The fact of the matter is, I may not have very much time left. You know, they started trying to approve the project that's back behind my property, where they're going to do all that clear cutting, and then
Mm.
it's going to be a big facility. Uh, it's going to run 24 hours. So I've known that I'm probably on borrowed time with that. I thought they would have already started by now. I don't know what's going on, but we're probably going to end up moving within the next 5 years once my kids get through high school, you know, and then before the little one starts, we're going to move even further out into the sticks.
Right.
So I'm running out of time to do these things. I want to bring people on, um, just to have their own experiences, and it's also good to have, you know, people with the outside perspective, and people that can say yes, you know, Johnny's telling the truth, and this is what happened when I was there. Now I don't know if anything's going to happen or not when people are here, but
Right.
it's just time, and I got, you know, it's just I'm just so busy, and every
Yeah.
second that I do with the podcast and everything else, I'm not doing videos and I'm not out in the woods. Just like for
Right.
the past month, I've been in the woods six nights a week, you know, and not I don't have things happen every night, obviously,
Right.
but I
It's
just feel
nice
like
when.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and that's why we wanted to do this show. Me and Johnny talked about it, and I was on because now a lot of people I'm busy still. I'm very busy. I'm also the co-host with Icebox on Dirt Road Bigfoot. So when we did our first show with me as the co-host, we addressed it. So I wanted everybody to know, and the changes and stuff like that, because me and Johnny talked about this. We know how the community is, and if we just did a show and Johnny's just not there anymore, rumors start to fly. People go, there's problems and there's this, and this. And me and
oh
Johnny
yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
address it, and me and Johnny want to address it right off the bat and say, Johnny is one of the closest friends that I have in this world.
Right.
And I'll never say anything negative about Johnny, even if he got in my face and yelled at me. He's a great guy, and we are still close. And it's just a matter of um, Johnny's extremely busy, and I get it. And I would probably have done the same if I
It's
was in the same
it's
shoes
not
with.
you, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm lucky enough that I'm not married and I don't have kids here, so that really, I don't have that dynamic that creates any kind of change in my schedule. So Johnny does, and I tell people Johnny's a very active father.
Right.
He does sports with them and he does things, and he's got the new baby and he's doing research and he works a full-time job. So it was just, there was a lot on his plate. So when Johnny said, "Hey, look, this is what I'm going to do," I supported him 100%. Am I going to miss Johnny? Absolutely. Johnny is,
Yeah, I'll
I,
still
I
be back. Still be back every once in a while, and you know, tell people what's up, and you know, drop in and say hello and everything. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, again, man, I just got other things I need to be doing, and I really felt too. I felt like whenever you and I started doing this, that like I was gonna be. I wanted the quality to go up,
yeah,
you know, in our like production value, and I just didn't have the time to do it. You know, I just don't have the time to, you know, start getting the better microphones and better sound and better internet. I mean, it's going to cost me $1,500 to get, you know, to
right.
replace my internet unless I get Starlink. So it's just it's just time, man. Who knows? Maybe one day when I retire and I can't get out in the field anymore, then maybe we'll see what happens. But until then, I just can't. I just want to get in the woods and do all the other stuff. But
Mm.
I've enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed everybody that I've met doing this. Made a lot of good friends and learned some really cool stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and that was the key thing. We just wanted to clear that up before people started running around because, like I said, I make this comment all the time that, when we use the term Bigfoot community, I also say it's a hostile community.
Oh
And
yeah, it's straight
and it
hostile, and that's part of the and I just had that happen, man. I had somebody who I knew we weren't buddies anymore. I knew we wouldn't be going out in the field together. We got into it. I've only had a handful, not even a handful, like three falling out since I started doing this. And one wasn't even really that bad, and I thought that we were at least he was still liking my Facebook post and stuff. And then I found out from somebody that they were just trying to sabotage things, behind the scenes. And I'm like, dude,
right.
what a coward. What an
Yep.
absolute coward. And you know how it is being in the military. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when we were younger, before my bones were brittle, you're you're friends with someone, and then you have an argument, and then you beat the shit out of each other. And then
Yeah.
after it's over with, you can walk away and say, all right, we resolved that. And that's the caveman way of doing it. But
But
you can't really do that anymore. But I'm not really like that, man. I don't I guess once I end things with somebody, I don't go on to try to, I don't know, sabotage things or hold a huge grudge. I mean, there's one dude I can't stand that um I would probably fly to pee on his grave. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, it could be rough, man. The community itself is you got to
Yeah,
watch it, and
and we
there are
did
people
really
out there doing
well.
some crazy things, man,
Oh,
stealing from
absolutely.
each other.
And we've witnessed it. We've witnessed some crap,
Yeah,
and it
and
blows.
and like I said, we addressed it, and we did really well. Where we never called anybody out, not by name or anything like that. It was always in a random sense, when we talk about the situation, you know what I mean. So we don't call anybody out. But I tell you
no,
what,
the bad
sometimes
thing
I'm
about
tempted.
that, yeah, the bad thing about that is when you do have a falling out with somebody, and I decided a long time ago, even after a really bad one, uh, I was tempted to use my platform to tell my side of the story before they did. And
Mm.
I thought, man, what kind of, I am not 16 years old. I'm not
Right.
going to be able to, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what the truth is. People who are friends with certain
And what?
individuals, when they find out you're friends with other individuals, I've been
Mm.
given a list before back when I first started. I had somebody who I gotten to know or whatever, and they went through my Facebook friends list and said, "Hey man, you might want to check off these people right here because our group does." And I'm like, "What? You're gonna give me a list of grown adults as a grown adult to not talk to?" You know?
Right.
I mean,
You
it's
know, and
just
I'm kind of guilty of that because there are certain people out there that I have gone to other Facebook pages and said, "Hey, look, if this person, you know, joins your Facebook page, you might want to either keep an eye on them or remove them." And it was a particular guy that was really just looking for money, and he
yeah,
was putting out
yeah.
evidence that was an absolute joke.
Well, there's a
And
difference. There's a difference between people that are like that steal from people or they're hoaxing or lying, and then just people you just don't like for personal
right,
reasons. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? There's a big difference in that. If there's somebody who I know is doing something, uh, extreme. I know a dude right now that's got a massive platform built on complete and total theft.
yeah,
I mean, it's just and it's over and over again. And I don't want to be a part of any of that stuff. I don't like the.
I don't have no time for the drama part of it. You know, I've not been in this nowhere near as long as you all have, and but what little time I've been in it, I've kind of dove headfirst, and I've seen, and I understand all the different rabbit holes that people try to go in with the Bigfoot thing, but to try to tell me or uh, I've always been the type I judge people based off their character. So like it's there's people that I wouldn't want to go out in the woods with, and if I had to, like I'd make the best out of it. But I've been in it long enough to where I have been around people that I'm like, all right, this was all right, but I wouldn't do this again or go out with a certain person again or and everybody has their own techniques, but when it comes back to adults uh, bickering and putting people down. And I understand if somebody's coming in to try to sabotage something, if somebody, calls them out or whatever, but like just because you either didn't have a great experience or something went wrong or just whatever the case is, for somebody to get on there and just completely dog people and stuff, it's mind blowing to me. But it's also, like when I first got into this, I would get on there and I'd read people's comments about stuff, and I was like, it used to drive me crazy. And now I'm just like, whatever. I
Well,
really
Yeah.
don't.
my attitude, and I love this, and I'll make it very clear. So, here's the great thing about YouTube. If you go on my channel or Johnny's channel or this channel and you want to write a negative comment,
Mhm.
it actually helps our algorithms. As long as there's comments, it helps our algorithms. Two, you had to watch the show to have a negative comment. So my
Right.
response always is, "Thank you for watching." See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I leave it open. And it's very rare that I delete a comment. I have. I'm not gonna lie. I have, but it's very rare. Um, but if somebody leaves a comment or a thumbs up or something like that, the YouTube doesn't know the difference between a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Right.
Okay, and they don't know the difference between a negative comment and a positive comment. So um, when people leave those, I'm good with it. See what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I mean? And so I had
But
no issue with it.
I think a lot of it though it goes much deeper than just disagreements. Like you may not like how this person uh, does stuff or whatever. Like it goes to a jealousy spot with a
Yeah.
bunch of them. It's
Oh yeah.
Oh
weird.
yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. Like and I get it. Like people want to get famous and stuff, but it's not. That's like very rare. And I knew coming into this that I had no real interest in going that route. As far as like, we all know someone that's that way, and I don't know. I guess like I said, it goes back to character. I can't force myself or act like someone other than who I am. So,
Yeah.
uh, if you're gonna
Well,
like me, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. Like I don't.
Well,
what
there's
goes
there's a
along
lot of.
what? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was gonna say, after doing this for a while and being on YouTube and watching other people, there are 100%. There are things that you can do to try to make the more people happy. Like if there were roads, if I know right now, if I started saying tomorrow that, all right, look here, guys, I figured it out. Sasquatch or Nephilim. And this is what they're doing, and this is how they're getting, and then going out and finding every stick and say this is a glyph, and just take and just start doing all the crap, things that you have. There's no way you can prove.
Right.
I know more people would be a lot happier with me.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they want you to choose. They want you to
Right.
choose one way or another. Are you ape or are you the
Yeah.
other way?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've been telling people for 8 years, I don't know what they are. All I'm here to do is explain
Yep.
what I've experienced and what I can prove. Other than that, I can't, I'm not going to go in a different direction just to make a bunch of people happy because they want to
Right.
hear these certain things and they want to be,
Well,
but that honestly,
you
that's not how research works, though.
Right.
you hit it right on the head when you said I don't know. We've discussed this. That is the biggest issue with researchers is they always feel that they have to have the answer. They always
Right.
have to have an answer, and you hear them even at the conference. You can hear them talking, and then somebody will ask a question. They have the answer for everything. And with researchers would just step up and say, "Hey, I don't know. Your guess is as good as me. That's why we're out there trying to find the answers. But I don't know." See what I'm saying? Because it's pride. Pride
Well,
gets in the way. See
well,
what I'm
see,
saying?
somebody asked me a question during the roundtable, and they asked a few different ones, but one of them, they were kind of going towards the Nephilim thing and just kind of asked what my opinion was about them being Nephilim and stuff. And I'm like, that's exactly what I told them. I was like, look, anybody who tells you they know what these things are don't. And
Right.
uh, can I tell you that I think they're Nephilim? I don't really think that they are, but can I tell you that 100% fact? No. And that's what I told them.
No.
I told the guys, like, look, that's why we're all here at this conference. That's why we're all doing this stuff because we're interested and we want to find out what it is. Like, to each their own, like you may go in and find what you need and you're good with it. But, we don't have, I think all the answers that we have are answers that we've had, so I mean,
Right. Well,
so,
yeah. I mean, if we can learn to disagree and not get upset about it, because
right,
me and Johnny don't agree on everything,
right,
but I respect him. He respects me, and he's still my friend. At the end of the day, same with Icebox. Me and him bounce stuff off each other's heads all the time. He may or
right,
may not disagree with me, but we're still friends when we hang up the phone. And
right,
that's where the problem lies: is all of a sudden you don't agree with me, we're not friends anymore. You know what I
right,
mean? And that right there is the part that's got to change the most in the Bigfoot community. Is you know is this giving up friendships or giving up your network of people because not
so,
everybody is agreeing with everybody, and that's just
right,
ridiculous. We're not in high school.
right, right, and you know, uh, and we've all seen the whole thing. Like my biggest pet peeve is being out in the woods with somebody that every little thing's a Bigfoot. That's what drives me crazy. Other than
Yeah.
that, like I'm pretty laid back. Like I can push it all aside. Uh, but that's probably my biggest pet peeve is and it's not really just those who everything's a Bigfoot. It's those that everything's a Bigfoot, and when you try to have a discussion about it, one, they don't have enough to back up what they're saying, and then two, they have no interest in hearing what you have to say about it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
and you run into those people. So like when I run into those people, I try to just find something out of them that I can learn something from, and if I don't, then I don't. But uh, I don't think people understand how many things in the woods. And it's not to say that what they've seen maybe not, may have been something Bigfoot related, but there's so many other ways. Like in my mind, it should be Bigfoot should be the last thing that you should pick. And if I can prove it any other way, then it's up for debate unless you see it happen. And but to each their own. It's going to be fun. I'm gonna have fun doing it.
Yeah. Seminole brings up a good point. He says every fallen tree is not a structure, and he's so right. And I
Right,
see it all the time where these people show these sticks on the ground as hieroglyphs, and sticks fall. They
right,
fall every day. And I always make this comment that when two sticks fall on the ground, they're always going to, and they touch each other, it's always going to be a T, an L, or an X. See what I'm
Right.
saying? But it doesn't mean Bigfoot is leaving you a sign or something like that. And you bring up a good point. Try to debunk first.
Hmm.
Try to
Right.
figure out what other possibility it is before you start leaning towards Bigfoot.
Well, you think of some of the, and Florida's not really known for them, but a lot of hunting areas north of Florida have pretty good sized bucks, especially the farther north you go.
Hmm.
You take some of these bucks that get spooked and just take off tearing through the woods, they're going to tear branches and break branches that are head high or, something like that. So, I mean, it's just those little things that I don't think a lot of people, uh, I think they're wanting it to be Bigfoot so much that it's a
Yep.
Bigfoot. And
Yeah, like this comment by Seminole, I love this because he brings up a good point. And, he says it annoys the crap out of me. I lived through 106 hurricanes. That's a lot of hurricanes, dude, and tropical storms.
It's time for you to
That's a lot.
move, buddy.
I'm born and raised here, and I ain't been through that many. But he brings up a good point because when we had the last few hurricanes that came through, it really
Right.
devastated the area I'm in. So when I go in the woods, I disregard everything that deals with a
Yeah,
tree. I
right.
No,
disregard
dude.
every bit of it. You know what I mean? You
The
have
happy
no choice.
place.
Yeah,
Well,
The
one
but these
happy
place,
people
place
were
now
post.
looks
well,
like
one,
it's big structure heaven now in our main research area, and
Yeah,
it's all
and
from a hurricane.
and I
Every bit of it.
watched
New
after the
stuff
hurricane.
weaved.
Oh yeah,
right.
and I saw all this stuff come out after the hurricanes. People posting all these tree structures and this. Oh, last time they came out here, this wasn't here. No, it wasn't because we just had a hurricane blow through. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that I wait a while. Let's say 6 months to let things
Yeah.
settle down because some trees are even damaged and may fall later. So you a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff you got to push to the side and start looking at more forensic material before you start claiming everything's a Bigfoot. And that's the in Florida. We had a storm day before yesterday, and it was so powerful of a storm that it blew the railing down on the house. We have a railing around the patio, and it blew it down. And this is wooden. This is those round poles, like you make wooden fences out of. Blew it down. Those things happen. Mother Nature is a crazy thing and does some powerful stuff.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I've been out in South Carolina on a few BFRO trips, and I don't, maybe it's just the time of year, but like the times that I've been there, it's in the fall, everything's dead, no leaves on trees or nothing like that. But the wind is so crazy, and they're just sitting there twisting and hitting each other nonstop and breaking branches, and everything's falling around you. And it's like, I don't even attempt to look for structures during those places, like, because
No.
they're everywhere,
Yeah.
and who's to say that this storm didn't just blow that through there? And for me, with a structure, it has to be something that really stands out.
Yep.
Uh, I tend to agree. I actually that book I just read, I was reading a part where they was talking about this thing. You know, when you the tree branches that are twisted,
Right.
uh, it was talking about this thing out in Folk that had came in and attacked one of the cows, and when they found the cow, it was like it had grabbed each end, like both sides of the back end, and when it twisted clockwise on this side, it twisted counterclockwise on the other side to the back of the cow's hind quarters or whatever, and just ripped them straight out. And but one, like the immense power that would take. Yeah, I think it
Right.
had like, uh, but the fact that as soon as it grabbed these two big things, it's twisted, you know. And when I read that, it made me think of the twisted branches and stuff, and that makes sense. I was like, oh, okay, well, that a lot of the trees that you see would be about the size of a cow bone like that. But I mean, it was just like, man, like some of these ones that are just barely flipped over or cracked or whatever. Like, I mean, when we was up in British Columbia, like well, they was one maybe 10 foot high, and they was like, y'all can't do that. So we pulled the tree over and broke it. And when it popped up right where the other one was snapped at. So who was to say it's somebody like us or somebody had been through there and just didn't do the same thing? Because like it wasn't that we were trying to measure it. We just pulled it down where it's comfortable enough to break
Right.
and swung back up. It was lined up perfect with the one beside of it that was broke. And walking by it, everybody that walked by it was like, look at that tree break up there. Like that had to be a Bigfoot. No human could do that. And we walked straight over there and did it, and it popped up exactly where the other one was. So I mean, like we just showed that somebody could do it. But there's some that I can't explain. But it has to be a pretty standout tree structure and stuff, though.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we
had a
also have a
discussion.
lot of things.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny. No, man.
A lot
we
of
may
these
not see you for a
things
while.
are like we're literally just assuming that Sasquatch even does that to begin with, because
We don't know, yeah.
like where did the idea come from? Did somebody witness? Like if you're gonna say, and I'm just making this example up, and I think I've used this example before. Let's say you go out in an area and you find 3 stacked rocks, and you find 10 of those in an area. I don't know, 5-acre area, and they're spread out or in a line. And you might hear from somebody, yeah, Sasquatch does that because they're marking their territory. And it's to keep the other Sasquatch out of that territory. What would you have to have witnessed in order to know that? You would have to witness a Sasquatch walk up to 3 rocks, stack those rocks, walk over and stack 3 more rocks, and go down the line and then leave, and then watch another Sasquatch walk up to those rocks and go, "Rrr," and then turn around and walk over and then see another pile and go, "Rrr, we can't go there." I mean, that's literally what you would have to.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. And there's things like,
well, it's like the X formation.
I'm not big in structures, but the one, in my opinion, they put one stick in the ground.
The one that's upside down.
And that started with me because I had several times where I had direct interactions, and I would go out to that spot. And the first time it happened, it was literally, I got video of this. It was literally a stick in the ground with the other half pointed exactly where I was standing. And then another time, I don't know, a couple months later, I had an interaction, and I go out to where, and it's a crappy thermal, but I think I got one on thermal. And I go out there, and exactly where that thing was standing, there was a branch leaned up against a tree. But it wasn't a branch from the tree. It was a cut branch that I had cut when I had cleared that area out. Something within a day went and leaned that up there. And I have found these with a bunch of different situations, just the one stick thing. But on the other hand, that happens all the time in nature. Right. When you walk through the woods, you're going to find branches stuck in the ground that just fell out of trees. So you kind of have to be like I'm pretty sure that they do this thing. But then again, this one I found, I can't tell you 100% unless there's something linking that, unless I know it was standing there or something like that, And with the structures, it's always been very difficult for me. Unless you see one make it, how do you really know?
Oh yeah, and that has a lot to do with when I do my channel. And some people go through all 500 freaking videos, and not once, not one time, do I claim a Bigfoot on anything. Not one time.
Right.
Okay, because I leave it up to the person watching the video to come up with their own conclusion. But I found sticks and that were stabbed into the ground. Now, and I'll document and say the leaf cover is probably 3 or 4 inches. I mean, it's thick. Yeah. It's spongy when you walk on it. Right. So for a branch to fall out of the tree, straight down and stab through 3 or 4 inches of leaf litter and then into the hard ground underneath it.
Right.
That's okay. And I tried to reenact it at the time, and this is all on video. I'm 220 pounds at the time, and I'm
Right.
leaning on this stick and I can't get it past the leaf litter. So how fast did this thing had to fly out of the chair? Because gravity alone didn't do it. So those are
Right.
the things that I'll document and say, okay, that is strange. Then I'll come back a week later, and there's one right beside it, literally 12 inches from it. What are the chances of it happening twice
Right.
basically in the same spot?
Right.
Excuse me. But I never claim Bigfoot. I just claim this
It's
is very strange.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, right.
So
Because when I first got into this, everybody was talking about the X formation. Like if you walk in the woods and you see a big X, that's them telling you you can't come through there. And then I talked to somebody like maybe months later, I don't remember exactly when, but they had a totally flip-flop idea of it, and they said, no, X means you're good, means you're welcome. And I'm like,
right.
like who knows? Like,
Like I said earlier, any two sticks that fall are going to form an L, a T, or an X. So I disregard X's all the time. Trees fall in the woods, and when they fall, they bounce and they move and stuff. Weird things happen in nature, and just because they're crossing each other doesn't mean anything.
Well, when I was out in the last month with a guy, and we was just out walking, and he had we was walking through some field, and it was just two trees that had fell and was laying on each other, but they formed an X. And he was like, "Watch this." He took a picture of it and he posted it on his Facebook thing, and he was like, "I guarantee you people will say that this was made from a Squatch," And it was like, you know, it's crazy that people are, I wouldn't say gullible, but I don't even know what the right word would be. But, for somebody just to see that and then instantly think, yeah, Sasquatch did that. Like, I get it, but it's just not me, I guess.
Right.
I think there's like, I got a buddy that called me today. He called me last night, and somewhere in Central Florida, they had, they met him at the conference or whatever, and he talked to them, and they came back up to him, and I guess they called him yesterday, and apparently, this thing keeps coming out of the woods and smacking their house,
Mm-hmm.
And I think they said it might be something similar to what Johnny's got going on. They either just built some stuff across the road or something, but, and I told him, I was like, well, look, man, I was like, if you get to go out there and look at it, look for any type of prints, look for trackways coming in and out of the wood lines, look at different angles of where it's supposedly hitting to see if you can see, if you look at it from this angle and then come over here and look at it from this angle and stuff just to see. Because, you always hear the thing that when they touch stuff, it leaves like a residue. I was like, see what livestock or anything's around, see what water's around, see, just take in the area and really search the area. You might find hair, you may not, who knows? But apparently the thing has hit the house a few times, and the last time it broke the side paneling.
Yeah.
And he says it's pretty high up. I'm waiting to see what he says, but it's like, something like that. If you're sitting in your house and all of a sudden something smacks your house and you walk outside and, where you heard this noise and there's a big old broken spot, something obviously hit your house. But it's stories like that even if you go out there and nothing happens, that's intriguing because, yes, we've heard the house and buildings and stuff getting hit, but to me, it's like, what is there? Are they pissed off because there's construction going on and they're just taking it out on the houses? Are they getting ran out of their area? Like what would make them as secretively and stuff as they move around and stuff? What would make them want to come up and continue to hit your house. Like that intrigues me.
Right.
Not to say
And
that it's
that's a common
Has
thing. We
there
hear that
has
quite a
there been
bit.
other stuff happen besides that?
with neighbors in the vicinity. Yeah, I the
The
people
the
that
way
live.
it kind of seemed like to me with my situation, because it started at my neighbors, and it got so bad for the first year that they were literally they were calling the sheriff's department like every 2 weeks, like they were harassing the hell out of them,
Right.
and they were a little aggressive towards me at the beginning, and then it was like once we had our interaction where it threw rocks at me and growled at me, and I quit being aggressive because usually when there was a one bump in the night, we'd all go running out there with guns and flashlights.
Right.
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 And I quit doing that or being aggressive once I figured out what it was. And I don't know if this is right or not. What it felt like for at least the first year is they were testing us. They were testing to see what our reaction was going to be. And the
Right.
only thing I could figure is they had decided for whatever reason that they wanted to be in this area. So
And with
they needed to figure out if
who
we
was
run
cool.
across humans in this area, what
Right.
are they going to do? Or
Right.
can I stay here? That's what it felt like to me. Am I right? I have no idea. It's just kind of
Right.
what it felt like, and it's
Right.
how the it went from being super aggressive over there. Then they turned their attention to me, and it was aggressive, and then it just became playful, and it's been like that for years. And now it gets more regular and intimate. Now I kind of know where they're going to be. They don't try to like sneak up on. Well, I can't say that anymore. But that's just kind of what it felt like to me. I don't know that 100%. But
Right.
like you said, I don't know why. Why else would
So
something just all of a sudden?
Right.
Yeah.
I
I
wonder
want
if
to
it's
I want
got.
to jump to a question that Patrick had put in earlier. I started, because he had a question, so I'll put that up. Um, do you think the thermal game cameras they're making make a difference? I'm big on thermal. Period. I think thermal is a good thing, but it
Dude,
has
I
its
didn't I didn't know
limitations.
they were making thermal game cameras.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Um,
I didn't realize that.
yeah. Just another thing I got to spend money on, right?
I did. I didn't know they was doing that either. I think that's
Not
sweet.
thermal ones.
Yeah.
I
Thermal
wonder
ones.
what the sensor is. Does it have an infrared sensor on it, or does it stay on the whole time? Do you know, Patrick?
Well, I know they're based on heat, so they don't.
Right.
They work different than like a night vision and stuff like that. So I don't know.
That are.
But I am a big fan
I
of
think thermals is
thermals.
great. I think thermals are great too. But it also drives me crazy when you got five of you sitting in a circle and everybody's got their thermals out, because I'm like, and that's just me because it's like at that point I feel like for whatever reason I feel like these things are like, all right, we're not gonna, and we
Oh,
had that
they
happen,
know.
right,
They know. They
and we
know
had
when they're being looked for.
right,
Yeah.
and we had that happen to us. Like we were all sitting around, and it was pretty quiet at first, and then we heard what sounded like just a single cow in the woods, and there wasn't supposed to be any cattle in that area. Who knows? But uh, I just happened to look around, and everybody was sitting there in a 360, just scanning their little lanes and stuff. And I was like, maybe let's all of us put our thermals down for a little while. And as soon as we put our thermals down and just sit around and chill for a minute, like everything started popping off, wood knocks, whoops. And I think a lot of it was just the fact that they knew all of us was sitting there recording and
Hmm.
trying to do this. And it's like, I think they're handy. The game camera thermal, I would be interested in seeing. I think that would go a long way just because you always hear the whole IR thing and they can see IR. But uh, I do think it's handy to have a thermal. I usually
Yeah.
pack two with me, uh, but I think that in case something happens, it's always good to have. But I couldn't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where I've had a thermal and something be going down and I've not grabbed it yet, because like
Yeah,
Yeah.
and trail cams are weird. I'll bring up 2 points. One, when they talk about the infrared and you can see the infrared, that's why you don't catch them. Well, there's an argument there because some people have posted trail cams with a possible Sasquatch in it. So all of a sudden, there's a debate on that. We don't know until, like Johnny has made the comment in the past, until there's a long-term study. You're
Yep.
not going to know. But
Right.
I granted some of those videos are AI. There's no doubt. But some of them are interesting enough to say, okay, there's something interesting there.
Hmm.
Um, you
Well, I
know,
was always told to use like the old trail cameras because they just
right,
flashed, and
right.
but you know, they was a part of me at one point thought they could see IR, and then I started going against it, and then I was like, nah, that'd be pretty crazy, and then somebody explained it to me as a predatory animal, where their eyes can see much better at night. That maybe it's not the fact that they can see IR, but it's just the fact that they see so well at night that they
Yeah,
see, and who
yeah.
knows?
Well, and Patrick brings up a good point. And I do believe this too. Is deer can see infrared, but
Yeah.
here's the
A
thing:
lot of
it
animals
does.
can.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't stop them from walking in front of the camera because they
Well,
don't see
that's
it as
that's where I
a
think
threat.
the
It's not a
that
threat.
that level of intellect. There's a jump. A deer
Right.
says, "Ooh, ooh, strange light," and a Sasquatch says, "No, sir, that's a piece of a
Right,
human put that there." They probably don't know. Obviously, they probably don't know what these things are doing,
right, but it's
but
some
they know it's connected to us. I believe,
right,
and
Yeah,
I've
and
documented that where in back at the sitting spot how the interactions I have are or the equipment that I take with me directly affects the interactions I have. For the first year that I had that situation going on back there, um, what was it, 2023? I had them run up behind me within about 15 to 20 feet 2 different times, but I was not using half the time. I was too afraid to take my thermal because I knew that they knew because I didn't want to be standing there like this.
right,
And even if I did, I would like put it up on my knee and turn it around and do that. And I was not using a night vision camera. And they
right.
ran up on me twice doing that. As soon as I started using night vision cameras and I would set one up behind me,
Hmm.
all that quit. They don't do that anymore. And I use night vision body cameras now. And
Right,
I'll get the throws when they throw an object, which is awesome to have on video. But I
right.
know they're not going to get any closer than probably 75 yards,
Hmm.
right,
So
right.
you
Well,
just kind of have to.
yeah, yeah. No, the story that made me kind of reverse back to it was I think I was watching the Salus Sasquatch people, and they were saying something. They were up in Washington or whatever, and they had heard these things around, and apparently it was a big male back up in the distance, like up in the tree line, and they was two juveniles apparently that would come down and run around this person's car and just mess with the car, and like he wasn't in it, but he ended up apparently seeing them and catching them, and it was just at that time of day where it's getting dark, but it hadn't went dark yet, and he watched them for until it went dark, and then the next day they came and was doing the same thing, and he said that they act like they didn't even know he was there, and then it got dark enough to where he hit like the hour on the first setting, and he said as soon as that thing clicked and turned on, both those sets of eyes turned and looked at him, and they all took off, and they never came back the rest of the time they were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
It's
my thing,
odd.
the tool that I think once it's perfected and is more fine tuned and detailed will be lidar. And you already got planes flying with lidar, especially over South America and stuff, looking for different hidden temples in the jungle and stuff because it picks up terrain. Once it hits
Yeah.
the ground, it gives you a printout of what the ground looks like. If they
Hmm.
can
Right.
fine tune that to also pick up animals, let's say for example, a bear or an elephant or something like that, something of large mass, and says there right, what's that right there, and the guy can say on lidar, well that's a bear or that's an elephant or something like that.
Right.
Once it can get to that point where it's not just ground that it's picking up, but it's picking up things around it,
Right.
you can take a plane and cover 10,000 square miles of forest in just a matter of a couple hours in a plane.
Right.
It's not there yet, and who knows will it ever get to that point? But I think lidar is a really big breakthrough. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Well,
it's
I
already
told you
picking up.
about those. I talked to the guy that, man, I almost had him, but they make ground-based radars
Right.
that come in a backpack, and you set it up, and it covers 180 degrees, and I can't remember how far it goes out. I think it was something like 1,500 yards or something crazy. They had different ones, but it detects movement, you know,
Right.
on that radar. And man, I had him, and I just straight up sent him an email, said, "Hey, dude, this is what I do, and this is what I'm interested in. I know y'all make this." He actually called me, and I was shocked. I'm like, I can't believe this guy called me. And we talked. He's like, "Dude, I'll bring it out to you, and we'll set it up." And blah blah blah. I never heard from him again after that. I imagine he probably ran it up the chain of command, and they're like, "Dude, shut up. We got government contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't talk to this nutcase."
Well, it's. I think another big thing is that new military night vision, where it literally draws a line around the body.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And there's no hiding from it. And it does.
I think people. I know thermal is the latest and greatest and everything, but I think like Generation 3 white phosphorus night vision. I think that would be amazing because
Yeah.
out of everything, you cannot hide your eyes on night vision.
Yeah.
If they look
Right.
at you, you're gonna get them with that, and it's high quality stuff. And they don't make actual not digital stuff like the actual analog night vision. They don't make night vision devices that actually record, obviously, because they're not analog, but they make a little camera that goes in them. So it will record everything that unit sees. You know, somebody's got the money. I think that would probably be a really good.
Right.
That would be the next thing I would get beyond thermal. Thermal's great, but
It's
the
good to
problem
have,
is
but
once you have one layer of leaves in between you and whatever it is,
yeah.
Yep.
you can't tell what it is. You know.
Well, that's
Well,
like
that's what I tell people. You take thermal or night vision, you can still hide from it. And then you've got a quote. This one person, I won't bring their name because they're not worth mentioning their name. So I'm not going to give them an audience. But he's big on, if I get a thermal drone, I will prove Bigfoot within 30 days. Well, here's what he fails to understand is when you're flying a drone and it's looking down, it can't get past the canopy. I can hide at a base of a tree and you'll never see me. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything has all the tools that we use has a limitation. It's using all the tools together to form a picture. See what I'm saying? But there is no one do-all, tell-all piece of equipment that's just going to give you the flat-out answer. See what I'm saying?
well,
We're just not
and
there yet.
plus down here, thermals work good too in certain spots in the wintertime too. But like down here, like
Oh, yeah.
it would be hard to do
Oh yeah,
anything.
I can imagine that in Florida it would be
Yeah, like, even if you was out
almost
there,
useless in some spots.
right? Yeah, at nighttime. I mean, they're good to have, but it's
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I got my thermal drone. I'm like, I'll be able to do this, and it's like, yeah, I've found elk and found deer and stuff like that, but I still think
There,
that you have to. This stuff happens so by chance that it really takes just at the right moment at the right time, and
yeah, it's all
I,
happenstance. But
yeah,
you bring up a good point, Frank, because and we did this one time. I was out with Kerry Arnold out in the woods, and we were talking about it, and I was like, well, in Florida, if you use thermal early in the evening, let's say 10, 11, 12 o'clock, the forest looks like it's on fire because
yeah,
every tree, every blade of grass, everything is holding that ambient heat from the day. So
Mm-hmm.
even in the summer, your only options use thermal like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when things have dropped
Flat.
down to a certain
Yeah.
temperature.
Well, that's what I
And we
say.
ran
Like,
into that with Carrie because we were out there like 10, 11 o'clock, and thermal was worthless. We just couldn't
yeah.
use thermal.
Well, I
You
mean,
know.
down here last night it was what 90% humidity and 92 degrees. Like I mean, you can't do nothing with that. Like you have to. Yeah, could you see if there's a heat signature if it's moving? Yeah, but like to be able to set it aside like you can in the wintertime, when you see a good heat signature and then it stands out really well. But like to what y'all was saying a while ago, like in April, I think it was April when we was up in Tennessee, we had 9 sets of eyes, illuminating eyes come in our area, and we was watching the eyes. We was sitting in the dark just watching them. Anytime you try to bring up thermal night vision, it was so thick you couldn't make through
Yeah.
to where it was at. But with the naked eye, you could sit there and they interacted with us for. They would have probably stayed as long as we would have. We stayed and interacted with them for about 2.5 hours, and then we sent 2 people down the trail and watched 2 sets of eyes pace them at a distance going the same direction. But as far as every time you try to pull thermal out or any of that stuff, it's just too thick.
How'd you
And
see
Well,
their
and
eyes?
honestly, we was sitting in the dark. We had walked up the trail. And there was a certain mountain that we was going to go and explore, and it was 4 of us. We had separated and was leapfrogging each other, going back and forth and making calls and stuff to each other. It was super quiet, and we was fixing to leave. It was like around midnight, and we was like, "All right, it's dead," let's head back. And buddy, we looked off to our left, and we seen what looked like somebody with a headlamp, just headlamps walking through the woods, and we thought, there's nothing out that way. There's no trails. We got the maps out. There's no trails. It's just woods.
So
And
they're self illuminating, is what you're saying? It's not.
we wasn't shining any lights. We was sitting in pitch dark. And
Huh.
we thought there was 2 people that was supposed to be on the opposite mountain from us. They never showed up. So we thought maybe they had went somewhere else and came back, and that's who we was seeing. But when we pulled it up on a map and was looking at everything, there's nothing out that way but woods. There's no way to get out there unless you're just walking through the woods. But the thing was, the eyes would go back. So with the naked eye, you could see 2 sets of eyes. Anytime you took a picture or any of that, and try to zoom in on it, it looked like orbs. But they would go from amber to red to white to blue. And one of the guys that was there, he was joking around, being goofy. We was just goofing off with him, saying, hey, appreciate you showing your eyes. We have. They gave us a list of. We wasn't far from where Mary Green, and I think that's who it was. Mary Green had a bunch of her stuff go down. And they gave us a list of Cherokee and stuff. So we would say stuff like in Cherokee, like, hey, come visit us, we're friends, come show us, whatever. And my buddy was like, oh, your eyes are so pretty. He's like, I'm going to bring you some gifts. I'm going to bring you some liquor and weed. And as soon as he said that, every pair of those eyes went red. And to the point on the video, everybody's like, whoa, they all just went red. They all just went red. And he was like, oh, I'm kidding. He's like, I'm going to bring you cookies, bananas, tangerines, blah, 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 blah. And they all went from red back to like a bluish white. And it was just odd, man. For the most part, you could always make out 4, but 9, we counted 9 at one point. But for the most part, it was between like 3 and 5. And all of a sudden they would start going out like they was almost like somebody was shutting their eyes. And then I remember I yelled out one time. I was like, when it went dark, I said, hey, I was like, I've drove too far for you not to interact with us. And as soon as I done that, like all the eyes lit back up. But it was so bright. It was so bright that it looked like lights were, and it didn't do it all the time, but like there would be times when it would go from like white to amber, that it would get so bright that it looked like beams was going through the breaks in the foliage. It was
Dude,
crazy. I've
that's
never seen
nuts.
it. Yeah, and I got some pictures that I tried. Like I pulled it up on my big TV to try to make it stand out better, and I got some pictures, but on my phone and stuff, it just looks like orbs. But you see all the colors. You see the red, the blue, the yellow, and it was. So the next night, we ended up, instead of going out from like 8 to 1 or 8 to 2 in the morning, we flipped it up and went from like 1 o'clock to 7 in the morning, and nothing. What nothing in that
Hmm.
spot. Nothing was out
Hmm.
there. That night when we was out, all the activity that we was recording, uh, it was moving east each night. So like one night it was over here where we were. The next night it was maybe 15 miles to the east. Next night it was like 15 miles to the east. So I don't know if they were traveling or what, but it seemed the activity seemed to move farther east each time. And but I've never experienced illuminating eyes. Maybe it was orbs, but with the naked eye, it looked like two eyes, and
Hmm.
but not reflective, not nothing. It was just us sitting there in the dark and seeing what looks like lights come up the road. It was crazy. And one of us had only been into, he's fairly new into it, like newer than me, and then the other two, they've been doing it for years, and they've had sightings and stuff, and they've never, they none of us knew what to make out of it. It was just uh, one of those
That's
unexplainable things.
crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, dude. I mean, uh, I don't know if it was one of the pictures that I took makes sort of like a shape. It's weird. It's like, and it could be just the way the beams are shining off the light, but I've never experienced anything to that nature. And the way and we ended up having a sighting. There was two juveniles hunting a hog or a deer. There was a hog and a deer in the area, and uh, you roll up, and there's two sets of big red eyes. One's a little taller than the other one. And Mike Hink and Lori Wade jumps out, and Lori takes off running towards it. And all of a sudden, she falls out like she got zapped. And the guy had just literally got this thermal. This is like the second day he had it, and he just started pushing buttons. And luckily, he snapped a decent picture, but you can totally make out one. There's two of them standing there, and one's a little taller than the other one, but the shorter one looks like it's facing you, and you can see like the head and the arms and the legs, and you can totally make it out. But on the in the woods behind, on the opposite side of the road, they believe the guy that you can make out what looks like a face. I don't really show it much because you could probably say it's pareidolia, but given what is in the other picture and then showing you what he saw, I guess when it kind of made sense. But like, so what the theory is it was a big one teaching the juveniles how to hunt. And then we happened to just run up on it, and then Lori jumps out and runs towards the juveniles, and then apparently it zapped her. Uh, she was complete. I mean, she like just fell flat on her face and was out of it. Like she's, I mean, you could tell she was out of it. She was cussing them out, like, "Why you do that to me, you MFers?" Uh, she was, but she was completely out of it. And I've seen her go out a couple of times. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a
Oh yeah,
picture. You see how bright that is?
that's right.
That's coming from about 75 yards, and that is on my phone where I zoomed in and tried to take the picture of the eyes. Now, with the naked eye, that was two eyes, but with the picture, it looks, I mean,
Dude, that's
it's,
bright as hell.
yeah. And that was another
That's
one.
definitely not reflective.
No, yeah. Like, uh, one of them, it's more white, but it's got like a diamond shaped pattern with like an X going through it. Like, But yeah, I don't know.
Hey, I'll be right back, fellas. I gotta go help Nikki. She just got
Yeah.
home. I'll be right back.
Yeah, but I'd
So yeah,
never
I
seen.
wanted to jump in real quick, and because there are people coming and going. Just to clarify everything that Frank is. This is the last show with Johnny. That's why we brought Johnny on, and so we're just having a discussion because we're gonna miss Johnny. Johnny was one of the me and him made this created this podcast. So, but Frank is going to be our co-host from here on out. So I want to introduce Frank and let people know. And Frank is a investigator for the BFRO. And just to give you guys a background on Frank, just a little background, he could tell you a whole lot more about his background. And the reason why I called Frank and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being my co-host?" is number one is I like Frank. We've met each other, we've talked. I like Frank. Second, he's a veteran. I'm big on veterans, and Johnny's a veteran. I'm a veteran. He's a veteran. So I kind of wanted to stick to that a little bit. But third, he travels. Frank goes places looking for Bigfoot. He's been to multiple locations throughout the United States. He's been to Bluff Creek, and he's also, pulled up his bootstraps and said, "I'm going to go to Canada and I'm going to meet with Todd Standing and see what that's all about." He spent the money. He spent the time. I don't know how he does it, but that was why I thought he'd be a fantastic co-host, because he brings that investigative BFRO aspect to the Bigfoot subject. So just to let you guys know why Frank is my co-host and stuff like that, and we're gonna miss Johnny. Johnny is, like I said, my closest friend. Frank's gonna become one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
So I just want to let everybody know, because we didn't get to that part yet. But if you want to talk a little bit about that and your experiences and where you've been and things like that, because he's going to bring a lot of knowledge. He doesn't have to do it all tonight. As he co-hosts and we do these shows, he can bring in that knowledge and bring in what he's experienced and stuff like that. And on top of that, we're back to doing the shows on the weekends, because that's convenient for Frank. It's convenient for me, and so we'll start doing them on Saturdays. If we miss a Saturday, then we'll be it on Sunday. Gonna go back to a 2-week format, and Johnny will tell you it's just the best way to do things, because it just frees you up to do other things and stuff like that. So, but
Well, this is a good spot to hand off the torch, then, fellas. I'm gonna go ahead and go and let Frank
No,
take over and introduce
yeah,
himself. And
I appreciate it. I mean,
hey, man,
I'm honored that y'all asked me and stuff, and I hate to see you go, but I totally understand it. I couldn't. I don't know if I could have another kid right now with a bunch of
oh
dogs.
yeah, she
Like,
wants another one too. So
I know,
you,
it blows my mind. I was already on you when you were you're in your 40s having a baby, and then you
yeah,
turn around and tell me she wants another one already. I'm like, holy crap!
yeah, I'm 46. She wants to have another one
like
within the next 2 years. So
that's like,
Gee
man,
whiz.
yeah,
just explaining that made me tired. I was like, ugh.
So,
it,
but that's
it's
what this show is
No,
so important, was to
but
bring you guys on so we can explain that Johnny is leaving for very good reasons. There is no
yeah,
animosity between me and Johnny. I love Johnny and I love his family. So,
I think
no, it's
you know,
everything's good.
me and my wife talked a little bit about that too, because we were coming up on that spot where we were on that verge of having another one, and then it was like, man, like my kids are 16, fixing to be 17 and 14, and it's like it'd be
That's
such an
exactly where mine are.
right, it'd be such an
Uh,
age that I wouldn't be against it just because there's a lot of stuff. I was young when I got married and had kids, and there's a lot of stuff now. I guess would be different. I guess, but so it would be cool to go back and change some of those things. But then I think, man, I don't know. I got so blessed with the two that I got. I don't know. I'm afraid
Well,
to
that's
tell you.
what we thought. She told me, she said after a week, 'cause we had, the boy and the girl, and she said, well, I guess I'm done. And not to get too graphic, I went and took care of things.
Right.
Well, 2 years later, she said, I don't think
Good
I'm
call.
done. And I'm like, well,
Oh no.
guess what? So I went and had it reversed,
Right.
and that didn't work because you wait, it loses like I can't remember what the percentage is, but the longer you wait, after the first year, once you get to your second year, I think it drops like 50% or something.
Wow.
Uh, who's that?
That's Flat Rock.
Flat Rock. So anyway, it didn't work, and then we just kind of she looked into adoption and thought maybe we'd do foster care. She's always, she's great with kids, and
Right.
she stayed at home and raised, our two. But then she found out our insurance covers IVF, and it was like within, dude, it was quick, and it all worked the very first time. So now she says she wants to do it again because she doesn't want our daughter to grow up because our two oldest, they're very close,
Right.
which is
Right.
great, which is awesome.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now I hear every night, I'm like, well, Evie won't have a
You
sibling
gotta
to
have
grow up. She's
a
gonna be alone. And I'm like, all of a sudden, this is my fault that we only got one
pet.
extra.
Here's
Great.
what's going to happen, Johnny. Here's what's going to happen is y'all going to plan to have another one, and you're going to get triplets.
Oh.
Oh no, well, you can't. That can't happen during IVF. Thankfully, that's all very, very controlled. So,
So your latest child was a
Yeah,
girl?
until she sees them all and goes, "Oh, I
yeah,
love
it's a
them
girl.
all. I want them all."
Yeah,
I think that
yeah,
see
I wouldn't
that's
put it past her.
I think that's the reason my wife was so intrigued with having another one around now because we lost our first one and then we had our next two and then but she seems to think that the first one was probably our girl. So now
Yeah,
she's read into all this stuff and says, well, uh, with guys, as they get older, their testosterone drops and they're more. I guess having a girl is more common at that age.
yeah.
And she was like, so maybe when you get older, she's like, and I was like, and I guess now's that time. So it's like, I was like, I
Well,
don't
dude,
Well,
know.
the,
it's been a lot easier this time
I,
around because you're not,
yeah,
that you have the first one and you're afraid, they're going to catch a disease from touching the floor. And
right.
then you get to the third one and there's pacifiers all on the ground and she just pick them up. you know,
Right.
I
survival
don't
of
know
the
if y'all can see
fittest.
this. I don't know if y'all can see this picture. I'll put it up near the screen. I don't know if it's going to come out because of the background and stuff like that. Well, anyways, this is a picture of one of my brothers, and I have a large family. There's 4 boys, 4 girls, and my brother has 12 kids.
Phew.
Okay, 12. All him and his wife. 2 are girls. 2.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
More
And but
That's a
but
lot of children.
but I got to throw out some credit to him. Most of all of his kids are in scouts and stuff like that. Most of them have reached the Eagle Scout level, and 2, or I know 1 right now, is at West Point. So
Well, he did
he's
something
doing
right then.
he is doing a fantastic job. But he's a lot like you, Johnny. He's very, very focused on his family, very, very active with his kids and stuff like that. And they are perfect. When I was married, we had this is I think when they only had 10. We went to give them a night out. We said, "Hey, we're going to come up. We're going to babysit so you 2 guys can go and have a night out." You know what I mean?
That's the day you
I think
went
that's
gray.
I think that's the greatest thing you could do for a family that large.
Yeah.
So we go there, and we were there for, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it was like there was not a kid in that house.
Mm.
They were so
That's
quiet,
good.
so polite. They broke up in their little groups, and they did their own little games and activities. Dude, it was like watching one child.
See,
One of them, I think, slept the whole time we were there. So
Yeah.
it was great.
See, like for me, that's how. Like my kids had a bunch of friends over yesterday, just out of the blue, and probably like 10 of them. But it was like they was all wanting to hang out in the living room where I was at and stuff, and I'm like, hey, we're not friends. You all are the friends.
Right. That's why. That's why I bought you a TV in your room. There's a
Yeah,
TV in your room.
they sit there all this week. We've been doing yard work and all this stuff to get everything set up for them outside, and then they want to come sit with me, and I'm like, no. I was like, so, I was like, but it's good. We were always outside growing up, so we wasn't allowed really in the house. So like, it's just weird for
Oh,
me
dude,
when,
I'd have to pretend to be sick to get inside the house.
right,
Right. I had
There
to
was
do something
no getting
wrong. I had to do
Yeah.
something wrong to come in the house, so I was
well, that's
sent
what
to
I'm
my
saying.
room.
So it's like, I'm sitting here and they're all probably looking at me like I'm a jerk because I don't want to hang out with them. But at the same time, it's like I was just in an area or in a time and period where you was outside doing what you had to do. You wasn't allowed to come in
Right.
and make noise, and if you did, you got kicked out. And so, if you did come inside, you was quiet and respectful. And these kids today are nowhere near like that. And I was just like, man, like I know my kids are that way because we've taught them that. But it's like I feel bad for these kids today
Yeah.
because nobody gets outside anymore. They're just it's so there's no way I could have done that growing up.
No.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why
the last thing I thought about growing up too is that I was gonna, get diddled by some dude that got
Right.
some van or whatever. Dude, I'm not gonna let my kids walk down the road nowadays.
Right.
right.
When they were younger, because there's
Yeah. Yeah.
just so many sickos out there.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
I just don't, I'm sure, surely it hadn't changed that much, but I don't remember stuff like that happening that much back then.
I thought about that too because it's like, I look at my life and how different it was from my kid's life, and I'm thinking, man, it's pretty dramatic difference.
Oh, yeah.
But then
I
it's like the stuff that I done. I get up in the morning to leave the house, and nobody had cell phones or none of that stuff, and you'd be gone all day, and it was like now I'd be panicked.
Right.
well,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you, I'm Gen X. I was a kid growing up in the 70s. I was a teenager in the 80s.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, just a little FYI, my high school reunion is going on right now, maybe 6 miles away. But anyways,
Uh,
it was the greatest time was the 80s.
Right.
It was just a fantastic time. And I look at the way things have changed today compared to then, and it just blows my mind. I
Yeah.
loved life in the 80s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not so much now. Not so much now. You know what I mean? You go out in
I,
public
re-
and you gotta. It's a different world.
I remember leaving kindergarten and walking to my babysitter's house. And
Hmm.
then when I was in third grade, I either walked home or rode my bike home because I lived too close. I was still, I don't know what it was, like a mile or something, just
Mhm.
under a mile. And then, like when I was real little, I mean, I was a latchkey kid the whole time and
Hmm.
would come home and I'd get off the bus and go and get the key and go inside and be home for 4 hours, and
Yep.
it was never brought up. I'm sure I heard it every once in a while, but stranger danger and all that. But people just weren't afraid of that kind of stuff back then.
No.
Like kids
Neighbors
roamed,
looked out for neighbors.
Yeah.
You know what I
right,
mean? I was a
I think.
latchkey kid. I remember leaving school and walking a very
dude.
long ways to get home.
Both the guy that owned, I've only got two houses near me. One's 175 yards that way. One's about 100 yards that way. Uh, that dude went to prison for touching his daughter, and that dude was accused of doing the same thing. There was just no evidence,
Right.
Right.
and that's just right here.
Oh,
I
Right.
mean,
yeah. Well, see,
it's scary, man.
that was the thing too. Like, I think coming from a small town where I'm at, like you know everybody. So it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you were out doing something like that, you would get found out pretty quick. But it was just like, I feel like the generations were a lot tougher and a lot different, but the creepiness, weirdo stuff wasn't as much of a thing as it is now. And I pulled up. I got this app on my phone. It's like Crime Radar. It's supposed to like tell you
Oh
everything
yeah.
live in your area. If you go and check
Hmm.
the paintball list on that, all over right here, and
Yeah.
and I think that's what changed so much for me, because like I grew up in Southeast Kentucky my whole life, and I knew everybody, knew where everything was, and then when I left, and then I've been down here for. I lived in Virginia for a few years, but I've been down here going on 12 years, and uh, anytime I go back, everybody tells me like, stay away this place. It ain't the same as it used to be. The all the high schools consolidated. It's just totally different, and you don't know nobody. Like when I moved to Florida, I don't know my neighbors. Like I
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
to,
Well, here's
it,
the difference. Where I live right now, I was born and raised right here, where in the city that I live right now, and you can't check your mailbox without waving at somebody. Somebody will drive by, they wave. Neighbor waves. Everybody waves at each other. Okay. I went up to Chicago. Okay. I was a public safety officer up there for a couple years, and I walked outside, and I was standing out on the driveway, and the neighbor drove up, and I waved. He
Mhm.
got out of his vehicle, walked over to me, and cursed me out for
Yeah.
waving at him. You don't know me, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's such a different culture, such a different lifestyle. You know what I mean? That I'm like, holy crap. You know what I mean? Where I'm from, it's disrespectful not to acknowledge the other person.
Well,
We're at first name basis with our USPS driver. You know, when they
right.
deliver
Yeah.
mail. You know what I mean? Stuff like
Well,
that.
when I first moved down here, I'd see people broke down on the side of the road, and I'd pull over to help them, because that's just what you did back home. It was just, if you broke down back home, you wasn't gonna be sitting there. Somebody's gonna stop and help you. And I couldn't tell you how many times that I pulled out behind somebody and got out of my truck to walk up to either help them put a tire on or whatever, and they run and jump in their truck thinking I'm fixing to rob them. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, what's up? And they're like, what do you want? What do you want? And it's like, I was just asking if you
Yeah.
need help. You're good. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's a totally different
Yeah.
world. Totally different world. They say 4 out of 5 hitchhikers are felons.
I could believe it, especially down here. The
Well, you're
amount of crap,
not in a great area. You're
the
not in
amount,
a great area.
yeah, the
You
amount
know
of
what I
crap that
mean?
ever since I've lived down here, I've found a dead dude underneath the overpass. It was, I don't know if somebody ran him over and dropped him there or knocked him over the overpass and he rode down, but I found a dead guy. I watched 2 people get shot. Uh, I've been around shootings. I've woke up to helicopters over my house with SWAT being out
Yeah,
on the road. It's wild, dude. Like
yeah. Well,
and
see
it's
where
over.
where I'm at, it's more country. It's
Yeah.
it's really it's still a great place to raise kids,
Mm-hmm.
but I do keep track of the sheriff's officer's blotter,
Mm-hmm.
and it amazes me. This person was arrested for something to do with youth. This person was arrested for murder. This person was arrested for fentanyl. So
Yep.
even our small towns or country towns are dealing with the same crime and stuff like that.
Well,
But I grew up in a generation that you didn't see death, and if you saw a dead body on the news, it shocked you. It blew your mind. Now it's
man,
every day. Now it's no
what,
big
what
Yeah.
deal.
man, down
Violence
here,
is all over.
it's so much down here. It's crazy. I was taking my buddy home from a UFC fight once, and he came over to watch it, and I was driving him home, and I pulled up on a red light, and I'm pretty vigilant, and uh, I noticed a car had been swerving a little bit, and it pulled off on the side, and I passed it and went around, and when I got to the red light, I was the first car at the red light, and I always had my pistol right there,
Hmm.
and I happened to, my buddy said something to me, and I looked over at him, and I happened to turn, and I looked in my side mirror. And if I would have looked at it any later, it would probably got bad. But I looked at it, and there was a Haitian guy running down the street, and by the time I seen him, he was at the back left tail light, and he was just running up on my truck. So like I just floored it and punched through and ran the red light and took off. Well, when I looked back, I seen him throwing his hands up and going all crazy and all that. So I was like, I went down, and unfortunately that's where my buddy was at. So I done a U-turn, so I'd be facing the guy as he came, and I seen him coming, and I put my pistol up and I was ready. And as he got close to my truck, he was slowing down, and I had my window down. And when he got up to me, I said, "What's up, dude?" And he kind of ming mugged me and went on. But it's like, if it would have been my wife, or if it would have been an older lady, or if it had been somebody else, like, would he have tried to rob them right then? Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you don't run up on somebody's vehicle at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No.
Unless you're asking.
Thank God Florida has the castle doctrine. We had and I had a guy come up to my window one time, and he didn't know it, but I had that 9mm planted right beside that door. And I'm talking to him, and I said, "Sir, before you say a word, you need to go back to your vehicle and Google castle doctrine, and then thank me later." And that's what I told him. Then thank me later. See what I'm saying? Now, Florida just passed a law, the U.S. or the Florida Supreme Court, because I love Florida. We love the First and Second Amendment. But they did pass something recently that I'm not 100% agreement with, is now Florida will allow 18 and older to carry a firearm. And I just think, well, there's a maturity level there. You know what I mean? So I'm a little concerned about the maturity level of an 18, 19, 20-year-old carrying a firearm, because they're all stuck on Call of Duty, and they're all this and all that. It's a different generation, and I'm scared that they're going to use it quicker than somebody at my age and stuff like that. But then again, I got to look at both sides of the fence. They are 18. They're legal adults. They're legally responsible for themselves.
Yeah, and they can be sent to go get shot in the face too at that age. So.
Well, when I'm sure you all was probably the same way. I was probably 5 years old when I first shot a gun. You know what I mean? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was taught how to shoot from a young age. And I get what you're saying, because, like, if you're 18, you're old enough to fight in war and stuff like that.
Right.
But
so I see both sides of the argument, but I know how immature I was at 18.
Well,
yeah.
And I was hot-headed at 18. I was hot-headed.
Right. Well, and I think the difference now, though, is that was just more a common thing. Like, back home, if I was driving down the road and I seen 4 people walking down the road with guns, I wouldn't think twice about it. Down here, if I seen that, red flag,
Yep.
And I think, too, though, what you said a while ago really sums it up, just because, I have guns all through my house, but I've taught my kids how to work them. My kids know how to fool with them. I couldn't tell you how many deaths when I worked for a flower company delivering, we set up weddings, events, funerals, all this stuff. I couldn't tell you how many times I had to deliver flowers to funeral homes from kids shooting themselves, playing with their parents' gun, and which to me, I just never looked at a gun like that to play with. Like, we didn't aim them at people, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Especially, other than like paintball guns and BB guns and tater guns and stuff like that, like, you'd have fun with that stuff. But like, if it was something that was lethal, like, you didn't play around and aiming at people.
Right.
And kids today, it was a couple of years ago, I seen it on the news. There was a kid from Virginia. He buys a gun and he's making like a rap video, and he's sitting there talking, and he's doing a live thing on YouTube, and he shoots himself in the head, not meaning to, you know what I mean? But that all goes to, I'm not against 18-year-olds having guns, but I do think that the 18-year-olds today
should take a course. They should take a course.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's too. To be honest with you, I think like with driver's license, I think 16 is way too young to be driving.
I
True.
do too. I really do
I,
too.
I
I
think
was
I
hell on
think
wheels at 16.
I think they
Oh,
should be a lot. At least, I don't know, man. At least it should be a requirement that they're out of high school, maybe.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it makes parents' life so much easier when they actually get their driver's license and everything else. But anyway,
Yeah.
fellas, I'm gonna let y'all have it, and I'm gonna go in and eat and let y'all continue
Brother,
on. And
Well, I'm going to make it publicly. I love you, Johnny. You're still my closest friend, and don't be a stranger.
no,
And
man,
you're welcome on this show at a split second. If you say I got something now, we'll do a show immediately. As soon as we can, and you supersede any guest because
yeah, well, I
you know
appreciate that, and I will. Anybody I talk to, you know, emails or whatever, I'll send them y'all's way. Find some guests, stuff like that. But I won't be a stranger.
yeah. And I
sounds
just
good.
you're
Frank,
you're gonna be you're
Frank,
gonna be
I'm
missed.
glad he found himself a good partner, man. I think y'all are gonna do a good job.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to
He needs somebody to keep him in line.
it. He may have
All right,
stuck out.
fellas, everybody out there, all of you that have been following for a while and been around and participated, I appreciate it. And you can find me. I'm still obviously still doing my YouTube channel, the Sasquatch Encounter Brigade, also on Facebook. I don't do a ton on Facebook, but I'm still on there. So, I'm not going anywhere with all that stuff. In fact, a lot my spare time, more of it will be going into, the actual research part of it. But that's pretty much it, guys. I enjoyed it, and I want to thank you, and y'all have a good evening.
You too, brother.
Take care, Johnny.
All right, man. Talk to you later on.
And how long did he do the how long's he been in the Bigfoot game? I
Oh,
mean,
he's been in it
wow.
for a while.
Yeah.
I was a follower of Johnny, and and that's how we met because we were sharing info and stuff like that. And what got me with Johnny, and I'll explain this, and I've said this in the past. What got me with Johnny was his integrity.
Hmm.
Okay, his integrity was bar none, and there was a point. This is where I knew I liked this guy. Was he had put out a video on some evidence that he had captured out on his property, and so he presented it and everything, and I'm watching it and stuff. And it was probably a week later or 2 weeks later, he comes back on and does another video debunking what he had done before. He said, "Look, I looked at this thing, and I don't think it's what I thought it was. This is what I think it is now, and blah blah blah." And for somebody to do that,
Right.
most people would have just let it ride, just send it
Right.
out there, let it ride. But no, he wanted to come on and correct himself.
That's
And that's
good.
when I knew I like Johnny. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And that went a long ways with me. And then we started talking and we started sharing information. It was really funny because we were friends, and I had gone up to his location and did a weekend, 3 or 4 days, I forget now, up at his happy place and did some research. He's come down to Florida with me and done some research, and it was really funny because I was on Icebox's show as a guest. And while I'm on the show with Icebox, I get a text message from Johnny, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" You know what I
Right.
mean? But it was really funny because once I got off of Icebox's show, Icebox calls me at the end of the show. He calls me, wants a debrief. We talk and stuff, and he's like,
Right.
"Hey man, would you like to be a co-host on my show?" You know what I mean? I was like,
Right.
"Oh, 5 minutes ago, Johnny already hit me up. We're gonna do something." So,
Right.
but everything's gone full circle.
Right.
Johnny's gone. I've got you, and I'm now co-hosting with Icebox. So
Uh,
everything's working out fine. Everything's working out great. So
No, that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm glad to be part of it just because, like, it honestly, I try to, and I've said this probably multiple times. I try to learn something all the time. So it's like, uh, if I'm not out in the field, I'm reading books,
Yeah.
or I'm reading
Well, I
stuff.
gave you one, so
I'm, dude, let me tell you
hold that
that.
book up. Can you show that book?
Hold on, I'll grab it.
So I'm big on when I go to the conferences. If somebody's selling a book, I usually like to pick up a book from one of the researchers or main guests and stuff like that. So this year, I got a book from Lyle Blackburn, and so I got the book. I talked to Lyle, and and everything. So then there it is, Boggy Creek Casebook, and it's a accumulation of not just the Boggy Creek, the history of that, but it's all the different sightings that have happened throughout the years and stuff like that, and
from
the evidence
from
it collected and stuff.
1908.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm walking around with this book and everything. I see Frank and we're talking. I showed him the book. I said, "Yeah, I got a book and all that." And he was interested in reading it. And I said, "Hey, well, you be the first to read it." So that book right there is my book, but I gave it to Frank and said, "Hey, Frank, you go ahead and read it first." And
It's
now
good,
he's
doesn't it?
given us his critique of that book.
I absolutely love the book. I actually got on there and looked up more of his books because uh, I've never read one of Lyle's books, and I'm interested in what he done with this one. Uh, just going back, and he's had to put so much time into that place.
He has spent a lot of time down there.
Yeah, because like going through the stories and the locations and all. I mean, like he's involved in all of it, and it was just the way he put it together and everything, and all the sightings and stuff. And even up to this day, it's probably been one of the better books I've read in a long time. But
Well, I look forward to getting it back and taking the time to read it myself.
oh yeah, it's I couldn't put it down, man. But what I like about it is what I like stuff about books is you find little things in books that takes you different directions where you can go look up where they found this out and stuff like that. And but man, it's like I know I had seen the Boggy Creek, and I honestly I like the older Bigfoot movies, I guess, more so than some of the
Yeah.
newer stuff. That's like the Creature at Black Lake and stuff like that. And but to read all the stuff that goes on in like a 20-mile radius is
Right.
insane. It's like it's like the whole town, knows, and it must be just what was interesting was they had found, and you'll read it when you see. It sounded like to me that they actually because that's one of the big things in this world. It's like, oh well, you never find the body and stuff like that, and seems like they think that they found a body in this book, but uh, when they found the body and looked at it, I think they may have took one of them and put it in a place, and I think it might be in a museum down in Texas, or I could be on something different there, but uh, it didn't have the head, and they say that's a predator thing, but it had three toes, like all the stuff in the Boggy Creek stuff, and they'd never seen any bones like this, and I think either they had seen them and went back and came back and they was all the bones were gone, like something noticed that they grabbed it and they said, oh nope nope nope, and took it up and took off with it. uh but they, according to that, but man, that made me want to go. It made me it makes me want
Right.
to go to folk
Well,
because
you and I need to plan something in the future. Mine is just hard getting time off due to the nature of what I do for a living. But
uh,
me and you get together and
oh
drive
yeah,
together up to Johnny's. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
oh yeah, for sure. He's in
put
what,
a tent
Georgia?
right there in his backyard. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. He's in Georgia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I've been reading some on them lately. They've had up in the northeast part. They've had some pretty cool stuff. I just took two from one's in Sarasota and one's in Ochopee. One was just a road sighting crossing the road, but then the other one, I think they were fishing and they smelt something and turned around and there it was. And I'm supposed to contact them here in a day or two. But I just folk and reading what I've read about it, it reminds me of back home. Like Southeast
Right.
Kentucky, a little poor mountain town type thing. But man, there's so many sightings of this creature, and they all describe it about the same. Uh, I'm not sure what the three toes is. If it's just
Yeah, that's different because even down here in Florida, you got some people who say, "Well, we got Bigfoots and we got skunk apes. Skunk
right,
apes have three toes and Bigfoots have regular feet." I don't see there's
right,
any difference between the two at all.
right.
Matter of fact, the footprints that I've seen in the state of Florida have three toes.
Hmm.
It looks more like a amphibian.
Right.
You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I've
It
seen
doesn't.
the
It
ones you're talking about, or
yeah.
maybe I know I've seen some three toads in Florida that don't look like a bipedal foot. It looks more like
No,
a yeah. I know what you're talking about.
a big gator or something more of, like I said, a lizard type or
Right.
amphibian or something
Yeah,
like that. So,
yeah,
but again, it's one of those things like Johnny was bringing up before. Until you see them leave it, you're really not sure what it is.
yeah.
But you bring up a good thing, and Lyle Blackburn based a lot of this on testimony,
Hmm.
people's
Yeah, yeah.
testimony. So let's delve into that subject for a quick second here because you're with the BFRO, and we know
Hmm.
the BFRO gets kind of like a bad reputation, and it's
Hmm.
not based, and people confuse it. They look at BFRO and think Matt Moneymaker,
Yeah,
okay? Which in general, and I'll be honest, he's not the most likable person. See what I'm
I've heard.
saying? He comes across a certain way, and it's not likable. But
Hmm.
BFRO is so much bigger than that. There are a
Hmm.
lot of investigators that work for the BFRO that do a really good job. They go
Yeah.
out, they investigate, they ask questions, they do all these things. So
Hmm.
when people have a sighting, you got to have a place to tell somebody.
Hmm.
Report it because it's reported sightings is what's going to that's part of the science is these
I think
reported
that's
sightings.
I could sit here and read reports all day long. I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I think it's just as important. Like I think it walks hand in hand with evidence. Really, because they always talk about it only takes if one of them's right, then it's real, and it's like there's hundreds of thousands of reports, and
right. And I'm
it's
big on
just
people report it. Go
yeah,
do your report with the BFRO. And if you want to stay anonymous, you can. But if you really want to be anonymous and just want to get it out there, go to the Bigfoot Mapping Project.
yep,
Put your thing on the Bigfoot Mapping Project because these are both two different locations that even myself I use the Bigfoot Mapping Project to look at my local area, see if there's anything new and stuff like that. And
hmm,
it gives a location. Now it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to access that location, but
right,
it's at least it's reported. It's there,
right,
and
right,
I highly recommend. Um, don't go to your forest ranger. Don't go to the FWC. Don't go to those places because it's not going to go very far. But if you
yeah.
put it on the BFRO or if you put it on a Bigfoot Mapping Project, it's there. It's there, and other people can see it. Researchers can see it, and people can start doing the research and looking into those locations.
Yeah, we was talking about. I think I want to get a big, nice map of Florida and just go through all the reports and just pinpoint all the things. And I know they have that on the site, but there's thousands and probably close to 100,000 reports that's not visible. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Me personally to be able to do that because like and a lot of them that come on now, I think we're getting into that era where people don't feel ashamed to talk about it. You know,
Right. Well, that was one. That's one of the big things that Finding Bigfoot did was it
right.
brought Bigfoot out into the open for discussion, and people started coming out and giving their experiences, and started coming out and being more open about it. So there is one major benefit of the shows. Now, granted, I look at the shows as entertainment purposes, but they
Yeah.
did accomplish that goal to get people to talk about this subject.
Well, it's funny because like my dad, he, you know, we don't. I mean, we talk, but it's not like a everyday type thing. And if it is, it's usually about sports for a few sentences or something. And so I'm not sure where he's seen it or who told him, or but when he found out that I was doing the Bigfoot stuff, he Kevin, he told. He would always make fun of me and just like, oh, you believe in that stuff? I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And then once he seen that I was serious about it and that I could talk to him and tell him certain case, reports and stuff like that. And then, he'd give me that little, you're crazy look. But then after about a year or so of that, then slowly he starts coming up with these little stories of, well, this one time I was out coon hunting, or this one time I was out on
Right.
the boat fishing, and we heard a growl in the woods, and it's unlike anything I ever heard of, and it was tearing through the brush, and it made my
We
odor back up and wouldn't go towards the bank, and
you get that a lot where people have an encounter, and then all of a sudden they start looking back at their past and
mm-hmm.
going, "Wow, when I was hunting here or hunting there or camping here, camping there, this happened or that happened, and could have been an experience."
Well, that's what happened to me. I'd had so much stuff happen to me that I had just wrote off as people screwing with me until I got into it, and then once I started going back and looking at all the reports, all the stuff that people talk about that these things do, and then going back and saying, well, this was happening at this time, and just kind of put two and two together. Can I say definitely that what happened with the people throwing rocks or it throwing rocks? Like I had rocks thrown at me multiple times, and not just one, multiple rocks, and it was like if
See,
if you
and
see
that's
the
the thing.
location, you know
Yeah,
no one's there.
yeah, and that was one of my biggest things when I first got into research a long time ago, and I always bring it up even to this day. Um, Probably one of the biggest pieces of evidence that you can possibly experience is a rock throw. Because there is no animal out there, deer, bear, anything, that's going to throw a rock. So when
hmm
something comes flying through the trees and lands,
hmm
that's huge. That's
Yeah,
huge. You see what I'm saying?
they
Uh,
the
that's bigger than footprints. That's bigger than vocals.
yeah.
That's the
Well,
biggest one, as far as I'm concerned.
right, and see that was the thing. It happened to us in Tennessee, and it happened to me in Kentucky. Uh, the first time, like I said, we thought it was beaver smacking their tail, and until we watched the rocks come out of the woods into the river,
Yeah,
and it's like whatever's throwing it has to be strong because those are big rocks, and
yeah.
uh, it's odd, and it's like uh, it's fun though, man. Like I look at some of these. I read some of these reports, and I'm just like, even after reading the law book, I'm like, man, I just like to. I already know Highway 71 has tons of sightings, little
Right.
places like that. And I'm like, makes me want to go there and stay there for a week and see what happens. And uh, but it's fun. It gets me. It's brought me closer. I wouldn't say closer. It's brought me back to nature. Uh,
And
that's
that's a and I brought that point up, because I'm
mm,
big on people getting in the woods, enjoying nature, enjoying hiking and camping and
mm,
fishing and all that stuff. And that's why I'm not a big David Pilates fan. He was at the conference this year. I've seen him in the past, because the stories and the things that he does really creates a fear of the woods, and I'm just not a big fan of that. I think people should get out there and enjoy. It's always that argument. Well, if they ever come out and say Bigfoot does exist and he's in our state national parks, people aren't going to go out there anymore. I'm like, nah, that's not true. People still go out there today with bears and moose and different animals that'll kill you. So I don't think that's going to stop people from going out there. Matter of fact, I think more people are going to go out there because they want to see this thing.
That's what I think. Saying? Yeah, that's what I think would happen. I think that you would. Part of me thinks that's one of the reasons why they won't come out with it, because you would just, all these places would just get bum rushed with just people, and then you'd have like one group wanting to go and shoot them, and then one group wanting to protect them, and then.
Well, I think if the government ever did come out and full disclosure and say these things do exist, they would be protected immediately.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
I wouldn't worry about somebody hunting one and killing it. Because I think the penalty would be pretty high.
I would hope. I know, they hunt for them in Oklahoma, and it's like I watched a guy. He sits up all the time out there with like he's all camoed up and gillied up, and he's like it's like, really, like, why, like, if you're out there putting that amount of time in the woods already, like, you're either obviously a believer that it's real, or you're bloodthirsty,
right?
Just
right.
Because
and Seminole brings up a good thing is if Bigfoot is out to get us, he's not doing a good job. And I'm a big advocate of, and you know this, and this is great because you're BFR, you read a lot of the reports. 99.9% of Bigfoot reports are not aggressive.
No, yeah,
they're not aggressive.
The only one that I've read that was aggressive was in this book. And it was trying to break into these people's house or whatever, and the guy came around and it basically pushed him out of the way and took off. Like, didn't try to hurt him, but like, they're not out to get you, like, now if you shoot one of them and there's others around, then it might be a different story.
But, yeah, if you poke a rattlesnake, he'll bite you. So
yeah, right, yeah. But as far as, that's what I'd tell people. If they was out to get you, and that was, honestly, that was like kind of my big fear when I first got into this, was I don't get scared about bears and cats and stuff like that when I'm in the woods. But to think of a certain primate that looks very human, or could be, a hybrid, whatever they want to say about it, I think it's just a very intelligent ape. But I think that this thing, if it wanted, that was when it really got kind of surreal. Like, kind of like when you're in war, like, going over there, the chance of you getting shot at is high. But then when it happens, it's trying to deal with it. And I think that, I don't think these things are out to hurt you, but I think my fear came in when you realize that you're out in the woods with something that's smarter than you, like, you don't feel like a top predator anymore. And, and you're kind of at their mercy. So it's like, I don't think that they're out there like, just waiting to mess with people. But I think that, I don't know. Like,
well, it's one of those ones, when you're out in nature, you have to respect what's out in nature. You know what I mean?
I think
you see
they
a bear, you be respectful of the bear. You know what I mean? And if you're aggressive and want to pester it and run at it and take a picture, it may attack you.
I think they probably know, especially if somebody's coming into an area that they're at quite often, they probably familiarize themselves with him. But like, again, that's one of the things, like, I was talking to Todd Tuesday, and, he's had some sightings up there at his place. But that was one of the main things I thought why it hurt Todd, was when Canada passed that law and they can't have pistols anymore. So, he's walking around with rifles, and I think that hurts it. I think they probably look and think that they're hunters or whatever. But it's just hard to say. But I'm looking forward to continuing the journey and trying to learn what I can. I tell you, the other book that I've been reading that's been really good is Matt Pruitt's. Uh, what is it? Something phenomenal, Bigfoot or something like that. But right now, I'm going through the different possible ancestors. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, it's interesting. I don't think they're Gigantopithecus,
No,
but
I never bought into that
yeah,
either.
yeah, I don't think that that's what they are. But I think they're probably in between, some cousin to that or something. But like I seen a video today that made me think of them. Were a kid, they were at a zoo, and a baby. I don't know how he fell. He was probably like one, maybe two. He fell over the fence and landed in the orangutan section, and it was a baby orangutan. Runs over to him. The kid's probably freaking out because he's like, "What is this little thing staring at me?" The baby tries to hug him, grabs him, picks him up, but he's so short that he can't get him up to where the parent is. So then the mother comes along, grabs him from the baby, and then lifts him over to the family. And it's
Right.
like it was such a loving, uh,
And an intelligent thing.
right. It knew that this baby fell and it shouldn't be there. Let me get it to its mommy. And
Right.
and it's like you can't tell me these things, even if they're cousins to these things. It's just where would be any time that I've ever seen a kid fall into a primate, and not to say that chimps or baboons may not, but like, the times that one kid fell in with the gorilla protected it. This one I just mentioned with the orangutan, like they don't seem like they're aggressive animals. They can be,
No.
yeah, sure.
Well, I think anything can. Anything
Right.
can. You know what I mean? Has somebody been hurt by one? Yeah. Has anybody probably been killed by a Bigfoot? Probably. But I
Yeah.
think it's so rare and so minuscule in comparison to all the other reports. See what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I don't fear when I go in the woods. I don't fear being attacked or hurt by a Bigfoot. I'm
Right.
more my biggest fear in Florida is a hog coming across a really big male hog or a female with
Mhm.
young, and it attacks me. A
Yeah.
hog will kill you and it will eat you. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And
yeah.
nobody's gonna find your remains. So
Yeah.
I fear that more than I fear coming across and getting harmed by a Sasquatch. So and
Yeah.
I do go out with my pew pew, and nobody ever sees it on my films and stuff like that because it's put
I'm the same.
away and stuff like that. It's only there in case of an emergency.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I pack anytime I go out, and it's not for Bigfoot at all. It's just
No,
for bad situation in the woods, whether it's an animal or a person. Uh, I don't. It's just a protection thing. It has nothing. I would never. I would hope that I would never be in a circumstance where I would have to try to shoot one, but I don't think. I think you'd be in such shock if one was
yeah.
super up to you like that. Like I don't.
I'm not
And
gonna lie and say if I come face to face with a Sasquatch while I'm walking down a trail, that my hand will not be on it will be on my sidearm just
right,
in case. You know
right,
what I mean? Because trust me, he's at the ready. Trust me,
right.
he's at the ready.
And
I'm
that's
just
what
you know
yeah, I don't know if I couldn't do that. But I couldn't tell you how many reports I've read where people said, they're out hunting and stuff and they run across one of these things and they wouldn't even bother trying to shoot it because it wouldn't do nothing to it. Like,
right.
and I'm just like, man, I mean, to think about saying that with a hunting rifle, and I'm not
Yeah.
shoot it because it's so big that I don't think it would do nothing to it. And like you're sitting here thinking, man, I've been killing deer and all kinds of crap with this stuff,
No,
and it's
I truly believe a bullet will kill a Bigfoot. I really
I think
do. It's
I think
it's a
I think if you had, I think a 308 would do it for sure, but
yeah.
I just think that you'd have to hit it.
It's all
Probably
about
have to hit
placement.
right, and right, and that's what some of these people is like, no, I mean, I think it could, but now would I want to try it? I don't think I would, because if it
Well,
did only piss it off or alert one of them, then you're in trouble. So,
yeah, I just did it when I was on Icebox's show. We were talking to a guy that once I saw him on the show, I recognized him, and he was at the conference. We didn't get an opportunity to talk at the conference, but I did recognize him at the conference. But he had shot one, and and of course, he found blood and stuff, but it got away or whatever. But again, I think it's placement. You know what I mean?
right,
And
yeah,
because I don't care what it is, you get a good lung shot, and you get that bright red, bright colored, foamy looking blood, he's going down somewhere. But if you get
yeah,
that thick, dark, coagulated blood, then you hit muscle or something like that. There's a good chance he may survive. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, I think a good rifle will take him down.
I think so. I think that especially like you said, if you hit it in the right spot, I just, I guess it just takes that, take it by chance. I guess like just
Yeah.
because no one. It's like what Mike Tyson used to say. No one knows how they're going to react till they get punched in the
Well, my
face.
attitude is even a 9 millimeter, you shoot a Bigfoot, it hurts, and it might hurt enough that it deters him from coming any further. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right. As they was talking about one of the things I was watching, they found some cows at this thing. I think it had killed like 12 of them. Uh,
Wow.
uh, but they showed some spots on the cow. I think it might have been in the same one I was telling you where it twisted the bones out, the back legs
Right.
off. They found like broke ribs near the heart and stuff like that. And they said that it looked like, basically, it looked like each place that it had been hit was like deadly force. Like
Right.
they saying
Well,
whatever.
yeah, when you brought that up earlier, I had a similar situation where, and I got it documented on film, where we found a dead pig, and the back legs is like something grabbed it and snapped it where the joint popped
Mm-hmm.
out. It broke the skin. You see the shiny white cartilage of the elbow on
Right,
both back legs, not one, but both back legs. See what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
I can't think of an animal that would do that. You know what I
No,
mean? Even a Florida panther, it's going to attack the neck, it's going to strangle it, and then it's going to carry it away. A
yeah,
bear, chase it down, grab it, shake it, break it, whatever, carry it away. This was laying there, undisturbed, no disturbed ground, no physical body marks whatsoever. Everything was intact. There was a slit in the stomach, but everything was there. No, nothing had been
no,
removed. All
nothing.
the intestines, everything was perfect, like as if you were autopsying the body. But those joints on the legs were broken, and the pig was dead. When we came back at a later date, like a week later or something like that, it was gone, and there was no sign. It was like there was no remnants that it was there. There wasn't hair left or predators ate it. There's no bones left. There was no nothing. It was like it never existed in that spot.
That's crazy. Well, they said the one where the broke rib was towards the heart, they think it had hit it with a rock, like they threw a rock and hit it. Is what it looked like. And I thought, man, you know how crazy that would be. Like, uh, yeah, the amount of force I've read. Well, and I've also read that, again, I've never seen it, don't know how true it is, but I've also read that that when these things try to teach their young to hunt, like they'll break deer legs, and I don't know how true that is,
Right.
uh, but
Yeah, you
I
hear a lot
mean,
of
but a lot of the hog cases that I've heard, as far as them killing hogs, it was more or less them grabbing them by their back legs and swinging them and hitting them up against a tree,
right.
and I can't remember who it was. Somebody at the conference, I believe, was telling me a story like that, and they found the rib bone embedded in a tree, like up in a tree or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. There was a story. I remember that story where they had heard it happen, where they
Yeah,
heard this pig squeal, and then they heard this whap, and then when they went down to check it out, they found the dead pig, and up about, I don't know, 6 feet, 5, 6 feet on the tree, you can see the splat mark where this thing hit the tree, and there was a rib bone from the pig stuck into the tree where it hit that. The impact was that hard. So, but
that's wild.
but well, I don't want to hold up too much time. It's been over 2 hours, and
No,
I want to thank you and welcome you aboard. I'm glad we're a team, and we're gonna do this. Like I said, we're gonna make this thing where it doesn't take up all of our time. We're gonna do a show every other week, and that's regardless if we have a guest or not. And we'll just have fun and have discussions and stuff like that, and open it up to, like I said, I want to open it up to the chat room and stuff like that, so they can come on. Um, but
yeah, yeah. I'm looking.
again, we're gonna miss
Appreciate.
Johnny, and I'm so glad you said yes.
No, yeah.
you know,
I, I've kind of looked at doing, you know, a little bit of this, and I was kind of, it did kind of come out of the blue, but I was excited, like, and like you
yeah,
mentioned earlier, like, I like you, you're a good dude. I think we get along well, and I think I'm excited for it because for me, it it's always a fun topic to talk about. I'm constantly learning about it and stuff like that. But what I like about what you do and what you've been doing is, you get to branch out and talk to so many different
yeah,
sides that it's always been intriguing. And you've had a lot of people on your show prior that, I've spent a lot of time watching their videos and stuff.
yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's, I hate that Johnny, but that's, Johnny's doing his thing, and I wish him the best. It ain't like, he's never not going to be around. So I mean, and I think, before that thing gets built up there, if he would let us come up there once and, like you said, camp out up there before all that gets going, since he said he thinks he's on borrowed time, that may be why he's getting a lot of activity right now.
Right.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that I try to read and stuff a lot, so hopefully we'll have a lot of just random conversations.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
uh,
absolutely. And like I said, making some changes to the format and how we do things, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to a great year. Me and Johnny had a good year and a half run, and but like I said, I 100% respect what he's doing. There, like I said, we needed to get that out there. Have all three of us on the show, so everybody knows. If somebody
yeah,
says, "Oh,
no
this is
bad
the reason,"
blood.
this is the yeah. Well, go watch
Yeah,
this show, and you're going to see that that's not the case. And there's a
right.
couple of people I talked to at the conference, and I kind of keyed them in and say, "Hey, this is what's going down," so y'all know. So there, people don't have any issues and stuff like that, because like I said, we know how the community is. It's ridiculous, and but I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have, your experiences and stuff like that, and like you said, we're going to have some great conversations in the future.
Oh
Some great
yeah,
conversations.
yeah. I'm looking
And
forward to
occasionally we'll have somebody on to have that conversation with us.
it. Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I gotta. It's done on my bucket list now. So eventually, I'm gonna be over in Folk at some point. So hopefully, I'll have some stuff from there because it's. I probably shouldn't have read that book.
Well, there's a history there. I mean, it's just as big
Yeah,
of history as Bluff Creek or anywhere else. The
I'm.
Boggy
I
Creek
think
monster was the Falk monster, and
I,
that movie scared the crap out of me.
me personally though, man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on up in the Northeast or Northwest, and I know that California, and I think California and that area get hot again now that they're running salmon down the Klamath. I think it dried up a little bit where they quit doing that for so long and they wasn't allowed to run salmon down the Klamath. Now that that's a thing again and they passed it last year, I think the activity in that area will pop up again. But, dude, the history, and I guess that's why I'm like a little kid and intrigued with it because I didn't know the history of folk. I didn't know
Right.
all the behind stories and stuff to it. And now after reading this and just looking at the almost a century, well, over a century worth of,
It would be great if, because I gave you my card and I talked to Lyle, but it'd be great if we can get him on the show.
yeah, for sure. I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to, if I didn't know a whole lot about him up until that point. He seemed very nice. I talked to him. He was very cool. I walked over and I was like, yeah, I said, you got any more books? He's like, nah, they went early. I said, my buddy's said he's going to leave me that one. I said, I was just making sure though, just in case. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, well, I mean, you can get them on Amazon or from his
Right.
site. And I was like, yeah. Once I started, I couldn't put it down, and I've already went and looked up some more of his books, and I'm gonna get into. But the thing was, is like he's got a personal connection to a lot of the stories because he's interviewed a bunch of them,
Right.
and so like I didn't, I really didn't know that much about him in that area. But now I would like to talk to him and pick his brain about that area in itself because, dude, the amount of sightings that are in that area, not just, and you would think that when the show started, when Boggy Creek came out, of course there's going to be people come up with stories, so maybe take a few of them here and there and just say
Right.
okay.
Right.
But still there's a lot of stories, and a lot of them was this thing running across Highway 71 or them being out in the woods or around the swamps and stuff in that area, and it's like, and it's always the same type of creature. And so the and some of them was thinking that it didn't resemble the big bulky northwestern Bigfoot, but it was the kind of like a they explain it with having just more hair in its face, and somebody said it had canines, and another one said that it had big square teeth, and but a lot of these, a lot of the reports that you see is like, oh, it was hairy all over, or it may not had as much on its chest, but its
Right.
face hair. These, all the ones in these seem like hair was coming down in its face, like it was completely covered. And obviously the three toes. Yes, they had 4 and 5 toe too, but the three toes was mainly the main thing around there. And but just the amount of reports and stuff there, like granted the Bluff Creek footage, that's we already know what all that is. But as far as reports and history and stuff, I mean, I would have to put this right there with it, uh,
Right.
just because. And uh, I've read reports out of Pilates books with the tribal Bigfoot and Hoopa Valley and stuff like that. But shoot, I'm excited for you to read it, man. It's good.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll plan a time because we. That's one of the benefits. Everybody, that why one of the there are many reasons, but one of the reasons why I called Frank was we're both in Florida, so
Yeah,
the opportunity for us to get together and collaborate in the woods is pretty good. Where Johnny being so far away, and I had to drive up there, and that was a 9 hour drive to go see him. Well, I think 12 from my house because I drove from here to Dunellen, and then from Dunellen to there, and so it was like a total of 12 hours for me on the road. But where me and you were, I don't know, 3 hours away or something, like
yeah,
2.5 hours.
yeah,
So we can collaborate and do stuff together and stuff. Maybe even do a live in the woods. You know what I mean? Who knows?
yeah.
So
I bring my Starlink.
yeah. Oh, nice.
There we go.
That'd be really good. That's awesome. Yeah, we got to plan something then. You know.
Yeah. Make it work.
But I want to thank you, man. I'm so glad you're a part of this, and I look forward to
Man.
working together and doing this and stuff like that. And you know,
No, I
this
appreciate you
we just
reaching out and asking me. I really do. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it.
and yeah, we're gonna have a good time. And so I'm glad you said yes. And Tennessee says, and vets serving our country. Yeah. Um, that was just one of the key things, being veterans and stuff like that. But good to have you, and look forward to working together and doing this and having a good time and stuff like that. We'll collaborate. You can reach me all the time, especially I work nights. So if you can't sleep, I'm up. Call me and say, hey,
Right. Yeah.
I got an idea, or hey, I'm talking to this person or something like that. We can always have conversations and stuff like that. And
Yeah, definitely. And we need to get together and go to that Polk. I don't know which one's closer to you, Polk or Sarasota, but whichever. Uh,
they're probably both about the same,
yeah.
depending on where in Polk.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get together on that and try to figure that out with it. That way we can hit that place up because that's the two closest. Like like some of them, you know, uh, it happened years ago and it's already built over and you just can't really do
Right,
anything.
right.
These two that I picked up recently, they'd be a good spot for us kind of to meet in the middle and then it wouldn't be too far for either one of us. And then
Especially that place in LaBelle. If you can work something out there, that'd be good.
yeah, because I'm telling you, my gut, everything in my gut tells me that that's what that was, and it would be the perfect setup for it, just because there's just nothing but farmland out there, where people like you have Black Angus farm or Black Angus boar, or not Black Angus, Black boar hunting something. It's a club for people to go hog hunt,
Right.
and their property backs right up to this property, and then this guy has 1,200 acres. And tell me how something
Well,
breaks a
don't
trust.
go into it because we're going to come into that at another show. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
But oh yeah, I look forward to if we ever work something out. And again, you're always welcome here. I got a great research
yeah,
area, and we can go out there and stuff like that.
yeah, for sure.
Um, all right, buddy. Well, you take care, and you know you can reach out to me anytime, and you know we're gonna do
Sounds
this thing. So,
good, man.
and everybody, still show Johnny some love at Sasquatch Encounter Brigade, and you know, keep an eye on what he's doing and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
all right, Frank.
All right, man. Y'all be good. Appreciate you.
All right, you take care.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Everybody have a fantastic Father's Day tomorrow, and God bless each and every one of you guys. And enjoy life. Get out in the woods and have a good time.